second lesson, mechanics, right? Yes, what are the topics that we have seen before? We have seen the various branches of mechanics, and we have seen what is rest, what is motion, and what is position. We have seen various types of motion, right? Yes, what are the various types of motion that we have seen? We have seen what is rectilinear motion, what is curvilinear, what is circular, and what is translational. Then we have seen what is oscillatory motion and vibratory motion, right? We have seen various examples for all the types of motion also. Then the next topic that we have seen is pressure. We have seen what is pressure and what is thrust, what is the SI unit of pressure. Is what is the SI unit of pressure? The SI unit of pressure is Pascal. Okay. In this class, the topics that we are going to see is, first topic that we are going to see is the devices for measuring the pressure. What are the devices that we use for measuring the pressure? Yes, the devices that we use to measure pressure are manometer and sphygmomanometer. Manometer and sphygmomanometer. Yes, we will see in detail about these devices in our class. Okay. Yes. The next topic that we are going to see is air pressure. Air pressure, pressure exerted by the air or atmosphere. Okay. Yes, the device that we use to measure air pressure is called as barometer. Barometer is the device that we use to measure the air pressure. The next topic that we are going to see is variation of atmospheric pressure with altitude. How the atmospheric pressure varies from the sea level as we move on to the higher places. We will see in this topic. Okay. Yes. As we go upwards from the sea level to the higher places, what happens? The atmospheric pressure will decrease. Yes. The next topic is need of atmospheric pressure. Why do we need atmospheric pressure? Next, role of atmospheric pressure in our day-to-day life. Yes, of course, atmospheric pressure plays a major role in our day-to-day life. Next, we are going to see what is hovercraft. Hovercraft is nothing but it is a vehicle, okay? It is a vehicle which will not touch the surface. Which will not touch the surface. It will move on ground and also in water, okay? Next, atmospheric pressure on other planets. How the atmospheric pressure varies between the planets. We will see the two planets, namely Jupiter and the Venus. Next, pressure exerted by fluids. Fluids are nothing but liquids, okay? Pressure exerted by the liquids. How will the pressure be in liquids? The pressure will increase as we move on to the depth. As we move on to the depth, the pressure will increase. Yes, that is what we will see in this topic. Pressure exerted by fluids. Fluids are nothing but liquids, okay? Next we will see Pascal's law. Pascal's law was given by a scientist, Blaise Pascal, and as he discovered this law was named after him as Pascal's law. Next we will see what is friction and various types, advantages and disadvantages of friction, methods to increase friction and the various ways to reduce friction. Okay, these are all the topics that we are going to see in today's class.
The next topic that we are going to see is devices for measuring pressure. Manometer. Manometer is the device that is used to measure pressure. The first device that is used to measure pressure is manometer. Pressure is measured with the help of a device called manometer. This manometer is an instrument that is used to measure the pressure. An U-tube manometer, an open tube manometer, is the simplest type of pressure gauge. Okay, it is an instrument to measure the pressure. It is an open tube manometer is the simplest type of pressure gauge which measures the pressure. This U-tube manometer consists of a U-shaped tube. Okay, U-shaped tube. Inside the tube there will be a liquid. Okay, this U-tube manometer consists of a U-shaped tube containing a liquid. One arm of the tube is open and the other arm of the tube is connected to a vessel. You can see from the image, right? See, one end of the tube is open and the other end of the tube is connected to a vessel. From that vessel we can measure the pressure. Okay, difference in liquid level. From the vessel we can measure the difference in the liquid level. The difference in the liquid level represents the pressure that is applied inside the tube. Is it clear? This U-tube manometer consists of a U-shaped tube, and this U-shaped tube is open at one end and the other end of the tube is connected to a vessel. The vessel consists of the difference in the liquid level is noted from the vessel. Okay, that difference in the liquid level represents the applied pressure, the pressure that is applied on the tube. This is the construction and working of manometer. A U-tube manometer consists of a U-shaped tube, and the tube is open at one end and the other end of the tube is connected to the vessel. In the vessel there will be a difference in the liquid level. The difference in the liquid level represents the pressure that is applied on the tube. This is the construction and working of a manometer. The next device that is used to measure pressure is sphygmomanometer. Yes, this sphygmomanometer is used in hospitals. You would have seen in hospitals the doctors and the nurses will be using this instrument. This is sphygmomanometer. This device is used in hospitals or various medicals to measure the blood pressure. Okay, with this apparatus they will measure the blood pressure of human beings. Okay, so sphygmomanometer is the device that is used to measure the blood pressure of human beings. Blood pressure in common we will call it as BP. Okay, blood pressure in common we will be calling it as BP. So the BP, that is the blood pressure, is being measured with the help of this device. It is called as sphygmomanometer. Okay. Yes, the blood pressure of a person is measured by the ratio of the maximum pressure and the minimum pressure. Okay, they will be finding the maximum pressure and the minimum pressure. Okay, the maximum pressure is called as the systolic pressure. Maximum pressure is called as systolic pressure and the minimum pressure is called as diastolic pressure. Okay. With the help of this experiment, they will be measuring the maximum blood pressure and the minimum blood pressure. They will be finding the ratio between the maximum blood pressure and the minimum blood pressure. Maximum blood pressure is called as systolic pressure. Minimum blood pressure is called as the diastolic pressure. Okay. So the maximum blood pressure level is 120. What is the maximum blood pressure level? The maximum blood pressure level is 120 and the minimum blood pressure level is 80. So then for a normal person the blood pressure should be 120/80 mm of Hg. This apparatus sphygmomanometer consists of a tube. Okay, that inside the tube there will be a liquid that is called as mercury. You would have seen in this image itself. At the center, at the either side you will have the markings, that is the number scale, and at the center you will have a tube. Inside the tube there will be a mercury, there will be a liquid, and the liquid is called as mercury. That mercury liquid is very toxic in nature, that is, it is dangerous. It will harm us. If it leaks out, it will harm us. Okay, so if this apparatus is broken, you have to give it to the shop and you have to repair it and use it again, because the liquid mercury that is present inside the apparatus, inside the tube of the apparatus, is very toxic in nature. It will harm us. Okay, yes. mmHg is nothing but it is the unit for mercury level. It is the unit for mercury. If you are measuring any values with the help of the mercury, then the unit that you have to write is mm of Hg. Okay, mm of Hg is nothing but it is the unit for the liquid mercury. Okay, yes. For a healthy person, the normal blood pressure level is 120/80 mm of Hg. Then if the value is greater than 120, it is called as high blood pressure. Okay, if the value is greater than 120, then it is called as high blood pressure. If it is lesser than 120, then it is called as low blood pressure. Okay, the value should, for a normal value, it should be 120/80. If the value is greater than 120, it is said to be high blood pressure. If the value is lesser than 120, it is said to be low blood pressure. Okay, this is about the apparatus sphygmomanometer. It is used to measure the blood pressure of human beings. Maximum blood pressure is called as systolic pressure. Minimum blood pressure is called as diastolic pressure. Then for a normal person, the blood pressure level is 120/80 mm of Hg. 120 is systolic pressure, that is the maximum pressure, and 80 is the minimum blood pressure level, that is diastolic pressure. The next topic that we are going to see is air pressure. Air pressure is nothing but the pressure exerted by the air. Okay, air pressure or the atmospheric pressure is the type of pressure, that is the pressure exerted on the objects from the air on the earth's atmosphere. That is the pressure exerted by the air on the earth's atmosphere is called as air pressure. Air pressure is measured with the help of a device called as barometer. Barometer is the device that is used to measure the air pressure. The atmospheric pressure on the earth's surface at sea level is 100 and 1000 pascal. Okay, 100 k pascal. K is nothing but 1000. The word K represents 1000. So 100 k pascal is nothing but 100 and 1000 pascal. Pa is nothing but pascal. Pascal is represented by the symbol Pa. So atmospheric pressure or the air pressure is the pressure that is exerted by the objects from the air or the earth's atmosphere is called as air pressure. Okay, the instrument that is used to measure the atmospheric pressure is called as barometer. Yes, this is the device barometer and it is used to measure the atmospheric pressure. Okay, this barometer consists of a long glass tube which is sealed at one end. Okay, this barometer consists of a long glass tube. At one end it is covered. Okay, one end it is covered and the other end is filled with a mercury, a silvery liquid metal. As I have said you before, mercury is the liquid that will be present inside the tube and it is very toxic in nature. Okay, the open end of the tube is placed in a small trough full of mercury. At the bottom you can see a flat surface, right? Yes, in that tube is filled with mercury. Next, the air exerts pressure on the mercury in the trough and it is able to hold the certain height of mercury column. Yes, when the air pressure inside the tube reduces, what happens? The column of the mercury moves down. Okay, if the air pressure inside the tube reduces, the column of the mercury moves down. When the air pressure increases, the height of the mercury column also increases. Okay, both are directly proportional. Okay, directly proportional is nothing but if it reduces, then the mercury column will also move down. If it increases, what happens? The mercury column will also increase. Okay, so both are directly proportional to each other. When the air pressure reduces, the column of the mercury moves down, it also decreases. Okay, when the air pressure increases, what happens? The height of the mercury column also increases. Yes, at sea level, barometer measures the atmospheric pressure of about 760 k pascal. As I have said you before, the word k represents 1000. So 760,000 pascal. Pa represents pascal. Okay, the symbol for pascal is Pa. At sea level, barometer measures the atmospheric pressure of about 760 k pascal. K represents 1000, so 760,000 Pascal. Yes, this is barometer. Barometer is the device to measure the atmospheric pressure. This barometer consists of a long tube. One end is covered and the other end is and the other end is connected to a small trough full of mercury. Okay, yes, if the air pressure reduces, what happens? The column of the mercury moves down. The mercury column will also, the height of the mercury column will also reduce. Okay, if the air pressure increases, what happens? The height of the mercury column will also increase. At sea level, barometer measures the atmospheric pressure of about 760 K Pascal. K represents 1000, so 760,000 Pascal. The next topic that we are going to see is variation of atmospheric pressure with altitude. That is variation of atmospheric pressure from the sea level to the higher places. How the atmospheric pressure varies from the sea level to the higher places, we are going to see in this topic. Okay. This is the graph that represents the variation of the atmospheric pressure from the sea level to the higher places. Yes, what do you observe from this graph? Yes, the atmospheric pressure at a place decreases with increase in altitude. Okay, the atmospheric pressure decreases with increase in altitude. The atmospheric pressure at a place is the force exerted by the weight of the air column. As we go up, what happens? The length of the air column above us decreases. From the sea level, as we move upwards to the higher places, what happens? Yes, the length of the air column decreases as we move to higher places. Okay, this is the variation. Variation is nothing but the that is the decrease or increase in the level of atmospheric pressure as we move from the sea level to the higher places. How it varies, whether it increases or it decreases or it remains constant, that's what we will study or we will learn from this graph. Okay, variation is nothing but that is change of atmospheric pressure with altitude. How the atmospheric pressure changes, how it varies, that is what we are studying in this topic. Okay, yes, what do you observe from this topic, from this graph? As we move on from the sea level to the higher places, as we move on from the sea level to the higher altitudes, what happened? The atmospheric pressure decreases. The next topic is need of atmospheric pressure. Why do we need atmospheric pressure? What happens if there is no atmospheric pressure? If there is no circulation of air, if there is no air, what happens? Yes, our blood vessels and the tissues will rupture. Rupture in the sense it will get damaged due to the presence of blood and other fluids inside. Okay, if there is no intake or exhale of air, what happens? Yes, the blood vessels and the tissues that are present inside our body gets damaged as there is blood and other fluids inside our body. If there is no air content, if there is no inhalation and exhalation of air, what happens? Yes, our blood vessels and the tissues will get damaged. Okay, yes, thus we need atmospheric pressure for survival. Without atmospheric pressure, our health will get damaged and all our blood vessels and the tissues will get damaged. Okay, thus atmospheric pressure is very much needed for us, for our survival. Next, we are going to see the role of atmospheric pressure in our day-to-day life. Yes, does atmospheric pressure play a major role in our day-to-day life? Yes, of course, it plays a major role in our day-to-day life. Yes, for filling the air in the tires of our vehicles, what we will do? Yes, we will fill the air with the help of the pressure gauge, right? So, their atmospheric pressure is required. Then, to blow a balloon, there we apply the atmospheric pressure. Yes, air is required, air pressure is required to inflate the balloon. Yes, of course, atmospheric pressure plays a major role in our day-to-day life. There are various other examples also. For example, inflating the balloon, then filling the air in the tires with the help of the pressure gauge, then syringe. If you press the syringe, what happens? There we apply the atmospheric pressure. Pressure is required to press the syringe. Then there are various other applications in which atmospheric pressure plays a major role in our day-to-day life. Hovercraft. Next topic that we are going to see is hovercraft. This is the image of hovercraft. Hovercraft is a vehicle which can travel on the ground or water without touching the surface. You can see in the picture, right? This is the picture of hovercraft. Hovercraft is a vehicle which can travel on the ground or water without touching the surface. See, the large fans are used to create an air cushion under the hovercraft. Under the hovercraft, there will be a large fans. The pressure on the air cushion provides enough force to lift the hovercraft. The fan that is present under the hovercraft will provide the pressure of air cushion and it will lift the hovercraft. Okay, yes, hovercraft is a vehicle which can travel on ground or water without touching the surface. This is the image of hovercraft. The next topic that we are going to see is atmospheric pressure on other planets. If a planet has an atmosphere, then there will exist the atmospheric pressure. Yes, due to the existence of hydrogen as super hot liquid metal on Jupiter, the atmospheric on Jupiter is very high. The atmospheric pressure on Jupiter is very high due to the existence of hydrogen. Okay, as Jupiter has huge amount of hydrogen, it is the atmospheric pressure on the Jupiter is very high. Then the atmospheric pressure on the Venus is about 92 times than that of the surface of Earth. The atmospheric pressure on the Venus is 92 times than that of the Earth, as it consists of carbon dioxide in its atmosphere. Jupiter consists of huge amount of hydrogen. Venus consists of carbon dioxide in its atmosphere and it is 92 times than that of Earth. Okay, yes. The next topic that we are going to see is pressure exerted by fluids. Now we are going to see the pressure exerted by fluids. Okay, let us take a container filled with liquid. Let us take a container that is filled with liquid with 3 holes. Okay, when an object is immersed in a liquid, when we are inserting the object inside the liquid, what happens? The liquid exerts the net upward force on the object. The level of the liquid inside the container increases. Okay, if the upward force exceeds the weight of the object, if the upward force is greater than the weight of the object, what happens? The object will float. If the weight of the object is greater than the upward force, what will happen? The object will sink. Okay, it will get inside the container, it will get inside the water. Okay, yes, if the upward force is greater than the weight of the object will float. If the weight of the object is lesser, what happens? The object will float in water. If the weight of the object is greater, what happens? It will get sinked into the water. Yes, that is what this experiment tells us. Okay, yes. Now the pressure exerted by the liquid is higher at the depth. Okay, yes, see from the diagram it is clear that at the last there is a hole, right? What happens? The water comes out with a greater force, and at the middle with some lesser force, and at the top with lesser force. Okay, so the pressure of the liquid increases at the depth. At the depth, what happens? The pressure of the liquid increases. Pressure increases with depth. Is it clear? Yes, the equation that we use to measure the pressure is P, which is equal to D into G into H. D is your fluid density. D is nothing but the fluid density of the liquid that is present in the container, and G is your acceleration due to gravity. H is the depth of the object. Depth of the object is nothing but how far the object is sinked into the liquid is h. This is clear. The formula to calculate pressure under a liquid is P, which is equal to D into G into H, where D is your fluid density of the liquid, and G is acceleration due to gravity, and H is the depth of the object. We would have seen the deep sea divers, right? Deep sea divers will wear a suit called as diving suit. Why do they wear diving suit? The pressure experienced by the deep sea divers is great, and so they have to wear a specially designed suit to protect themselves. Okay, yes, the diving suits helps to combat the weight of the diving equipment and the water pressure at the greater depths. It helps them to protect the divers from the depth of the water pressure. Okay, water pressure under the depth, and so they wear the diving suits. Yes, the dams are made stronger and thicker at the bottom than at the top to withstand the higher pressure at greater depth. Okay, why the dams are constructed in this way? They are made stronger and thicker at the bottom. They are made stronger and thicker, and at the top than at the top is to withstand the high pressure at greater depth. There are various properties for liquid pressure. They are: a liquid exerts equal pressure at the same depth. Okay, at the depth the liquid exerts the equal pressure. Then liquid exerts pressure on the walls of the container. Liquid pressure depends upon the density of the liquid. From the formula it is clear that P, which is equal to dGH, where D is the depth of the fluid. So the pressure of the liquid depends upon the depth of the liquid, density of the liquid. The next topic that we are going to see is Pascal's law. He is Pascal. His full name is Blaise Pascal. Okay, he was a French physicist, and he discovered Pascal's law. This Pascal's law is based on the principle that the pressure exerted at any point on the enclosed liquid is transmitted equally in all directions. Okay, yes, he conducted an experiment and he found out this law. As he discovered this law was named after him as Pascal's law. Yes, Pascal's law is nothing but the pressure exerted by a liquid is equal in all directions. Okay, what is Pascal's law? The pressure exerted at any point on a liquid is transmitted equally in all directions throughout the liquid. Okay, first we have seen an experiment, right? Pressure exerted by fluids. The same way, that pressure exerted by fluids is based on the principle of Pascal's law. See, for example, take a rubber ball and dip the rubber ball in water. Okay, dip the rubber ball in water and apply a force on the ball. Apply a force on the ball is nothing but press the rubber ball. What happens? The pressure will be exerted from the rubber ball in all directions. If you want, you can do this experiment at your home. Okay, take a rubber ball, dip the rubber ball in water and press the rubber ball. What happens? The pressure will be exerted from the rubber ball in all directions. This experiment is based on the principle of Pascal's law. Yes, we have seen the law before, right? What is Pascal's law? The pressure exerted at any point on the liquid is transmitted equally in all directions. So this experiment is based on the principle of Pascal's law. You can do this experiment at your home if you want to check whether this experiment is true or not. Okay, yes.
Good morning, students. Today we are going to see about friction. Okay, so what is friction? The friction is nothing but two objects which will be coming under a contact. For example, we are just walking. So in our day to day life we will be doing many activities, right? So for example, running, walking, playing, etc. So these are the example for a daily activity which we will be doing in our day to day life, right? So these all will be playing a major role in the friction. For example, in running, as I said before, running is a example for friction, right? So in running, what is the friction? Two object, what is that? The foot which is we are running, no, the foot of the leg, no, so that and the ground will be coming under a contact. So with the help of that we can walk or run or do any activity. So that is the example for friction. So we are going to see detail in one by one. Okay.
The tires of the cars and the buses get wear out due to friction. Okay, the shoes that you wear daily to your school get torn out. Why? It is due to friction. So friction causes wear and tear. The things get worn out and torn due to friction. Okay, friction causes wear and tear.
Yes, first we saw what is friction, what are the examples of friction, what is the example for friction in a day-to-day life, what we are doing, that is also we saw. So now we are going to see about the types of friction. So what are the types? They are mainly 4 types of friction. So first, what is that? Static friction, dynamic friction, rolling friction and fluid friction. Static friction. So the static friction means the name itself, it will be saying that it is a constant friction. So for example, the ball which is on the ground, so it is a constant, no, the ball will be on the ground, it is a constant it is a constant object which is placed on the ground. Okay, so until I push the ball won't go from one place to another. Am I right? So here the ball and the ground are the same position and it won't change its position until I pushes. So the ball which is placed on the ground is a constant. So it is a static friction. A static is nothing but a constant. Okay. So the external force is applied, the object which is placed there, no, it won't move from one place to another. So we can come to know a point that there won't be any actual movement in a body. So when a body moves slowly, it's a body, no. So when I'm going to kick the ball, for example, I'm going to kick the ball which is on the same, it is on wrist. Okay, so I am moving slowly, so I am moving to push the ball, so I am moving slowly and I am giving a motion to the another, that a ball, I am giving a motion to that ball, so that ball will be slightly moving, no. So this will be coming under a static friction. So the moving body, no, that will be coming under this friction. Okay, now the static body, the ball which is on the ground is a static friction, as I said before. Okay, now what is the sliding friction? Can you say the sliding friction in this ball on the ground? What I said, example, the sliding friction is nothing but the ball which is moving, no, so that is just moving from one place. After kicking the ball will be moving from one place to another, so that is known as a sliding friction. So we can come to know that when there is a sliding friction, automatically there is a static friction. So without sliding friction, there won't be any static friction. Okay, so as I said, I am going to kick the ball, right? So we can keep that example as a static friction. So I am going to kick the ball, the object which is placed there, no, the ball, it is in a same position, it is in wrist. Okay, so the speed of that, it will be 0 at that wrist. Yes, so now I am going to kick. So slowly what happens, when I am kicking the ball, the speed will be moving to a maximum limit. So when, for example, you can take over 10, for example 10, okay, the speed of that is 10. So at rest it is 0, and then slowly after kicking, what happens, the speed limit, it is moves to a maximum limit. So gradually it raises until I give a external force, it won't move. So when I am giving a force, what happens, the force, adjusting force, so self adjusting, right? So it is, I am going to adjust a force. So what happens when I am giving a force, it will be moving to a maximum limit, so that when applied forces gradually increases. So applied force is what? Nothing but I am going to kick the, no, that is the force. So it is applied, force is applied there. So the applied force will be gradually increases, and then the force of friction also increases, because the ball also will be moving from one place to another. So these all will be doing at a same moment. So the force of friction will be doing at the same time. What happens? The maximum limit of that friction will be also moving at the same time. So this is known as a static friction. Yes, now we are going to see about rolling friction. So we all familiar with the rolling friction. The word rolling itself we all familiar. What is that? A rolling is nothing but a moving. No, it will be moving. So here this rolling friction, what it says means, normally when there is an object, when there is a smooth surface, okay, so it can be any other thing, what's the normal floor or any other thing, so that can be taken as a smooth surface. When that on that I'm just placing a ball will be rolling on that surface. So what happens? The ball will be gradually to move from one place to another, right? So the same, for example, bicycle, car or any other vehicles, no, all are moving. So the wheels of that vehicles are also rolling, no. So that is an example for rolling friction. So in that we can say a friction between the tire and the road. So there is a two contact, so two body which will be coming under a contact. So that will be taken as a rolling friction. So when we as you said before, no, static friction and rolling friction, we can say the when compared to static, rolling friction is very easy to move one object from another object. So in static the object will be placed at a constant, so it won't move until any external force is applied, only the static friction will be moving. But in come to rolling friction, normally it will be rolling. So the name itself it says that it will be rolling, the object will be rolling, in that help of the friction it will be rolling. So the two object will be coming under a contact and it will be rolling, so that will be taken as a rolling friction. So we can compare that sliding object and a rolling object. So the rolling object will be closed by more friction. So by that we can say that sliding friction has a more friction. So sliding means it won't have any restriction to stop. So sliding the obliquely, the object will be placed obliquely and it will be moving slantingly. So that is having a more friction. So imagine if you're just walking on a steps. So you just coming downwards. So you're coming down to the steps. So when compare another picture as a, you're just walking on a slanting circus, the slanting, no. So you're walking on that, which will be having a more friction. In steps it will be taking a less friction. So normally we will have some gap to take another step. But compared to slanting surface like circus or the, have you experienced before, right? So when you're just walking on the slanting surface, you will have some more grip. So that grip is nothing but a friction. So you yourself just think when compared to sliding friction, slanting friction. So that sliding friction, that rolling, no, so that rolling friction will be having a more friction. Okay. So this when force is just keeping a body in motion. So when normally the force will be moving in an object, so that will require to start the motion. So that is we can come to know that static friction will be greater than sliding friction. So that sliding friction will be also greater than rolling friction. So in a normal life we can just compare that. If you're keeping a paper or book any other on the table, just keep a pencil on the bottom of the book, just roll the book. what happens? If you're just moving the book, it will be automatically, it will be moving from one place to another. Have you noticed? Where normally if you're keeping a book on the table, if you're pushing, you need some force to push. But when you're keeping pencil on the bottom of the book, what happens now? If you're just moving slightly itself, the body will be moving gradually, it will be moving from one place to another. So by this we can say rolling, the sliding, no, that's it will be moving from one place to another, no, so that will be having a more friction. First we saw what is friction, what is the types of friction, and now we can see about the advantages of friction. So by starting the class itself, I have told in a day-to-day life without friction there won't be any action will be done. So what happens when there is absence of friction? We can't do any work, right? So let's see the advantages. So what are the benefits of the friction? Let's see one by one. So while seeing in a screen, you can see a girl is walking. So can you point out the friction which is applied there? Of course there is a friction. So while walking, no, the leg of a girl, which is a shoe, she is wearing a shoe, right? So the shoe and the floor, so that both will be coming under a contact. So there is a force applied and then the friction is applied there so that the girl moves forward. So we can say there is a friction is applied. So because of the friction we can walk. Then come to second picture, stopping. While stopping a vehicle, we need some brake to stop the vehicle, right? So there is some friction. Automatically what happens when you are pressing the brake, the automatically what happens, the wheel of the vehicle would be stopped. So if there is a friction, the tires of the friction, no, it will be the tires of the car will be having some designs. So it's nothing but to stop the vehicle. So it has, if it is having some designs, it will be stopping so easily, okay. So it will help to stop. So there is also contact between the tire and the floor. So with the friction we can't do any, without friction we cannot do any object, any action. Without friction we cannot do anything, okay. So now come to third picture. He's handling, holding some glass of water or some other thing, okay. So he's handling something. So while handling, what happens? While holding, what happens? We need some force. We need some force to press the object which are having in a hand. So that is also coming under friction. So without friction, so it will by hand. So what happens in third picture? He is holding a glass of water. So while holding, I am holding my hand and the glass is having some contact. So it's having some friction. So that's we can handle the glass of water. Then come to writing. While writing on a board, what happens? You can hear some sound, no, while writing on the blackboard. So that is also a friction. So the chalk piece, there is a contact between the chalk piece and the blackboard. So while writing, what happens? There is some force. I am giving a force to the blackboard. So therefore there is a friction applied and therefore we can write. So without friction we cannot write on the board. Then lighting a matchstick. There is a force. I am just lighting a matchstick. I am giving a force to the matchstick. So what happens? It will be just coming under a contact between the match box and the matchstick. So I am lighting. So they both will be coming where that match box and the lightning stick will be coming under a contact. So that will be coming a friction. So without friction we cannot do lightning also. Then come to fixing a nail on a wall. So now I am going to hit the nail on the wooden bar. So what happens? I am giving a force. So while giving a force, what happens? There is some pressure. So while pressure, what happens? The pressure of the nail and the wooden bar will be coming under a contact, so that there is some friction applied, so that we can put the nail on the wooden bar. So any other example? So we can come to know that there are many friction which is done on a daily life. So walking, just moving in a car, or just writing on a board, then just beating the nail in the wall, and then kicking a football. So there are many examples of friction in our day-to-day life. Okay, so we can come to know that without friction there won't be any action done in a day-to-day life.
The next topic that we are going to see is the ways to increase friction. What are all the various ways that we use to increase friction? In that, the first point is the sole of shoes. Sole of shoes is nothing but the bottom of the shoes, okay? And tires of automobiles. We would have seen, right? The sole of shoes is nothing but the bottom of the shoes and the tires of the automobiles will be rough. Why it is rough? It is rough in order to provide the grip on the ground, okay? If it provides grip means only it will get attracted towards the ground and we can move. It is due to friction. So the sole of the shoes and the tires of the automobiles are rough in order to increase the friction and to provide a better grip on the ground, okay? Yes. The next example is that the wrestlers and the kabaddi players. Have you all noticed the wrestlers and the kabaddi players, before they are getting into the game, what they will do? They will rub their hands with the soil. Have you all seen that? Yes. Why they are rubbing their hands with the soil before getting into the game? Because the soil will provide them the grip to hold the opponent, okay? So they will rub their hands with the soil before getting into the game. This provides the increased friction between the hands of the wrestlers and the opponent's body, and so they will rub their hands with the soil before getting into the game. This is an example for the ways to increase the friction. Next, we are going to see the various disadvantages of friction. In that, the first point is friction opposes motion. Friction opposes motion. Friction and motion will act in opposite direction. If we take a box, if we push the box towards the right, the friction will act towards the left, okay? Pushing the box towards the right is motion. Moving the box towards the right, moving is nothing but motion, okay? So if the motion acts towards the right, the friction will act towards the left. If we push the box towards the left, the friction will act towards the right. So motion and the friction will act in opposite direction. That is what given there. The friction opposes the motion. Next, we are going to see disadvantages of friction. What are all the various disadvantages that occurs due to friction? First is that friction opposes the motion. It is nothing but if you push a box to the right, the friction acts towards the left. If you push the box towards the left, the friction acts towards the right. So friction and motion will act in opposite direction. That is what given there. Friction opposes the motion. Is it clear? Yes. The next point is friction causes wear and tear. The third point is friction produces heat. When we scratch the sides of the matchbox with the matchstick, the matchstick gets lightened. How does it get lightened? It gets lightened due to friction between the sides of the matchbox and the matchstick, okay? The matchstick that is being scratched on the sides of the matchbox gets lightened due to friction. If we rub our both the hands for a few minutes, what will happen? Heat will be produced. It is due to friction between your two hands, okay? If you rub both of your hands, if you rub for few minutes, what will happen? Heat will be produced. The heat that is produced is due to friction. Yes, if you use your mixer grinder in your home for a longer time, what will happen? The grinder will get heated, right? Why it is getting heated? It is getting heated due to friction. So these are all the various disadvantages of friction. The next topic that we are going to see is friction during walking. Yes, while we are walking on the road, if there is a banana skin, if we walk on the banana skin, what will happen? We might get slip, right? Why do we get slip? because the banana skin reduces the friction between our foot and the road. Okay, yes, that is why our parents will also be advising us not to run on the polished surfaces, because in the polished surfaces if we run, what will happen? We will get slip. Why do we get slip? Because there will not be friction between the surface and our feet. Okay, so we will get slip. That is why the that is why our parents or the elders will be advising us not to walk on the polished surfaces. The next disadvantage is that friction causes wastage of energy. There will be wastage of energy due to friction. Yes, when we are driving a car in a rough or a kacha road, the road that you see in this picture is the kacha road. When we are driving our car in the kacha road, what will we observe? We observe that the engine exerts more force in moving the car. Why does the engine exert more force? It is due to friction. Engine exerts more force in the kacha road or the rough surface due to friction between the wheels of the car and the road. Okay, yes. While the car moves faster, what will happen? The engine will get heated up and there will be a lot of fuel will be wasted in this process. Okay, yes. So as the fuel get wasted, there will be wastage of energy due to increased speed, due to the increase in speed of the car. Okay, and the engine will also get heated and there will be loss of fuel. So due to friction there will be wastage of energy. Next topic that we are going to see is methods of reducing friction. What are all the various methods that we use to reduce friction? The various methods to reduce friction are applying lubricants. Lubricants are nothing but oils, grease, graphite powder and compresses air, etc. Okay, soap solution is also a lubricant. That is why while mopping, what will we do? We will apply some solution for mopping our houses, right? What happens while we apply that solution? We get slip. Yes, applying lubricants can reduce friction. Next, applying oil. Applying oil to the doors, etc. can reduce friction. Next, polishing the surfaces. Polishing the rough surfaces can reduce friction. Polishing the surfaces can be done by varnishing and electroplating. Varnishing and electroplating can reduce the friction of rough surfaces. Okay. Next, adding wheels. Adding wheels in our trolley bags, we would have seen there will be wheels at the bottom, right? Why the wheels are present in the trolley bags? It is being placed due to for the reduction of friction. Wheels under the trolley bags are placed to reduce friction. Next, ball bearings. Ball bearings are nothing but small steel spheres. Okay, these ball bearings can be seen in the vehicles. For example, in cars, etc., you can see ball bearings. Okay, these ball bearings are introduced between the moving surfaces to reduce friction. Okay, ball bearings will be placed in all the moving surfaces in order to reduce friction. Ball bearings are nothing but small steel spheres. Okay, yes. Next, by streamlining or by sparkling a soft slippery fine powders. For example, if you are playing carom board, what will you do? First you will spread the talcum powder on the board, right? Why you are spreading the talcum powder? In order to reduce the friction. By knowing or unknowing, we'll be spreading the talcum powder, right? We don't know that it will reduce friction, but the exact reason is that the talcum powder will reduce the friction between the coins and the board. Okay, that is why we are spreading the talcum powder before playing the carom board. Yes. Next, by streamlining. Next, by streamlining, we can reduce the friction. Streamlining is nothing but for the objects to move through liquids or air, a streamlined shape. Streamlined shape will reduce the friction, allowing them to move easily. For example, boats and fishes have streamlined shapes for moving through water. The same way, birds, rockets and aircraft also have streamlined shape to move through air. Yes, for the objects that move through air and liquids, streamlined shape will reduce the friction. So what are all the various methods we have seen to reduce friction? By using lubricants. Lubricants are nothing but oil, grease, graphite powder, etc., soap solution, etc. Then by using the ball bearings. Ball bearings are used in moving vehicles, moving surfaces. Ball bearings are nothing but they are the small steel spheres. Okay. Next, by polishing the surfaces. Polishing the rough surfaces can be done through varnishing and electroplating. Then by sparkling a soft, slippery, fine powders on the surfaces. The example that we have seen is carom board. While playing the carom board, what we will do, we will spread the talcum powder throughout the board, right? Why we are spreading the talcum powder? In order to reduce the friction between the coins on the board. Yes, these are all the various methods of reducing friction.
We have seen what are the devices for measuring pressure, what are the various devices for measuring pressure, manometer and sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer is the device to measure the blood pressure. Okay. Next we have seen what is air pressure and the device for measuring the air pressure. What is the device that we use to measure the air pressure? Yes, it is barometer. Next we have seen variation of atmospheric pressure with altitude. How the atmospheric pressure varies from the sea level as we move on to the higher places. Next we have seen what is the need for atmospheric pressure. Why atmospheric pressure is needed. If there is no atmospheric pressure, what will happen? It will damage our blood vessels and tissues. Okay. Yes. Next, role of atmospheric pressure in our day-to-day life. How atmospheric pressure plays a major role in our day-to-day life. Next, we have seen about hovercraft. I have shown you the vehicle hovercraft. Okay. Next, we have seen atmospheric pressure on other planets. How the atmospheric pressure varies between Jupiter and Venus. Pressure exerted by fluids is pressure exerted by liquid. Take a container, immerse an object inside the liquid. What happens? If the force applied is greater, what happens? The object will float. If the force applied is lesser, and the object will sink into the container. Yes, we have seen pressure exerted by fluids. Next we have seen Pascal's law. What is Pascal's law? Pascal's law is nothing but the pressure exerted by liquids is equal in all directions. This law was given by Blaise Pascal and so it was named after his name as Pascal's law. Next we have seen what is friction. Friction is derived from the Latin